What's up, s'mores? I'm Shannon Morse. Welcome to my YouTube channel all about tech reviews and how-tos, and today I wanted to talk all about passwords. Yes, the bane of our existence. I despise passwords. They drive me absolutely crazy, especially when you try to put in like a 48-character password to a website and it only accepts like 26 characters. What's up with that? Passwords are annoying, and there is a huge reason why this is the bane of everybody's existence when it comes to cybersecurity and the information security sector. Nobody likes them. Passwords feel like they are our own worst enemy, and whenever you think about online security, passwords automatically become a part of that conversation because they've already been a part of the conversation for such a long time. Digital passwords have been a part of our lives for 6 decades, and passwords in themselves, to be used vocally or orally, have been used for as long as I think we can remember in history. But the problem is passwords are not inherently secure, even though we continue to use them to protect all of our sensitive data online. Personally, and I know this is an opinion that a lot of people in InfoSec share with me, I feel like passwords should just be eliminated entirely. I feel like we should not depend on them to protect all of our sensitive data, and there are a lot of reasons why I feel like the actual factual data backs up my whole perception of passwords. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to do a video about passwords and how hopefully very, very soon we can become a very passwordless society and use different factors to authenticate and to prove our identity whenever we are logging into accounts online. So luckily, this is perfect timing because I also have a wonderful sponsor today, and that sponsor is WWPass. WWPass creates strong multi-factor authentication for businesses and personal use with this unique approach to passwordless security. They have a client-side encryption with a single passkey, that's what they call their app, passkey, which allows users to have an electronic ID to access all of their user accounts. WWPass takes a no-knowledge approach because the business relies on no-knowledge technology. Since the data is encrypted locally on the client's device, you are the only one who can decrypt it. WWPass's password manager, which is called PassHub, relies on no usernames or passwords. You are authenticated with an encrypted electronic ID instead, allowing for a fast, easy to access platform on any of your devices while keeping intruders out. Since most online services still do require passwords, which is very sad, but most online services do, you can still protect them inside of a passwordless vault, which is PassHub. This is a free password manager that requires no master password, just your electronic ID, which is a safer and secure way of accessing all of your data. PassHub works across any browser or device. It's totally cross-platform. The user interface is really easy to work with, and best of all, this is my favorite part, it's open source, which is awesome. You can actually see the source on GitHub. That's great. I love that. Find out more about PassHub over at passhub.net, and I would like to thank WWPass for their support of my channel. Now let's talk about passwordless security. Here is why passwords should totally be replaced. There was actually an investigative report published last year in 2019 by Verizon, and this basically went through a whole bunch of data sets and percentages, actual analytics of why passwords kind of suck. So it's called the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report for 2019. They found that 29% of breaches use user credentials, and the top 2 threats are phishing and using stolen user credentials. This means that attackers are gaining access to information that you are trying to keep secure online, or even just on a computer, with something that you know, as opposed to something that you are or something that you have. They're always using passwords and user credentials, like an email address and a password combination. Those are the kind of subsets of data points that attackers are gaining access to whenever they phish you, whenever they send you fake emails and get you to log into a fake website that looks like your bank. Yes, it's a real thing. That actually does happen. We end up putting our trust in something that we know as opposed to something that we have or are, especially if you end up recycling that information that you know, those passwords. So take, for example, example, haveibeenpwned.com. That's owned with a P, haveibeenpwned.com. They actually found that about 555 million plus passwords had been registered and tracked as being leaked according to their website. So these are just the leaks that haveibeenpwned.com has been able to track and find on the dark webs, for example, and been able to figure out that those passwords had actually leaked into the public. 555 million plus real world passwords have been previously exposed in data breaches shared on their website. That means that any of those passwords, those millions of passwords, can never be used again because they could easily be used by an attacker to gain access into any other websites that you're using them on. That's why it's so important to not recycle passwords as well. And then you have the whole issue of credential stuffing, which is where an attacker could take a whole slew of usernames and passwords and just stuff them into a website and just keep on going until they find a match that allows them to log on. A lot of websites just do not protect against this, even though they can write that into their code. So they end up getting leaked. Now, take it from me, I fully understand, especially because I've heard it from very, very close people to me, that it's so easy to reuse passwords. It's even easy to cycle through phrases and cycle through things that are very similar to each other, like you change one letter, or you capitalize one thing, or you change a 6 to a 9 or vice versa. Like just changing one little bit in your password, even so, that still could be something that could be vulnerable to you. So reusing and recycling passwords is something that I know is really easy, and it's such a hassle to have to change every single password and make sure you're not recycling them anywhere. Trust me, when I was younger, before I got into information security, before I got into security and privacy online, I reused my passwords too because it was easy, it was less hassle. I also didn't use a password manager, so I had to memorize them all. But when you're doing that, you're opening up yourself to so many potential losses, whether that's your bank or your social media accounts. Like I would be totally screwed if somebody stole my Twitter account. And that's why my password on there is like hundreds of characters long. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't have it memorized, but my password manager does. So if you ever look online for password recommendations, you have probably run across this National Institute of Standards and Technologies. It's called NIST for short. And they basically have a whole data guide about password recommendations for using your passwords online. But that doesn't necessarily matter if your passwords do end up getting leaked, because there's still something that could potentially get leaked if a website is not protecting their information correctly, or if you end up getting phished. So at this point, you're probably thinking, well, if I don't use passwords, what do I use to verify my identity online? Because that's all I know of. Luckily, there are a few different options. One that will immediately come to mind is probably biometrics. For example, if you go to the airport and you decide to sign up for Clear, which is like TSA PreCheck, but like way more expensive and lets you skip the line. It's like for privileged people. I would love to have Clear. I mean, that thing is like super fast, but I've only gotten to like trial it. If you go to the airport and use Clear, they check your biometrics, and then I believe they check your flight itinerary or like your ticket stub or whatever it might be for your flight. After they verify yourself with your biometrics, there's no password or anything like that, then you're good to go and you get on your plane. Another option, of course, is software or hardware tokens, which I have talked about on the show before. That's where you verify your identity with a hardware token like a phone or a software token like an application. Another option is using zero sign-on technology. This is where a website or a company or a platform uses some kind of electronic identification to prove who you are when you say you are that person, and then you're allowed to sign on to that account. All of these options are something that you are, like your biometrics, or something that you have, like a hardware token. None of them end up being something that you know. Speaking of something that you know, organizations can actually help with this too by having a zero knowledge or a zero trust with their employees. This means that they limit, very, very crucially, the information that their employees or that their company has access to. Organizations should also not trust any kind of connections from external places, from outside of their network. and that includes anything that is plugged in or any kind of mobile devices that may come into their environment. This is where your insider jobs come into play. Take, for example, the Capital One hack. That was by a previous employee that worked at Capital One. So you end up seeing these kind of issues in the real world, and they actually do happen. So I had mentioned password managers, and when you look at password managers as a whole, most of them do rely on a master password, and that is bringing you back to the same kind of argument of why passwords are bad. Why are we using one master password to protect all of our identities online? Take, for example, me. I have hundreds of accounts and identities online, and there is no way I could remember all of them, so I have to put them into a password manager. But if I'm using a password manager with a master password, there's always the vulnerability that that master password could be stolen, like if I wrote it down somewhere, or it could be figured out by social engineering or phishing attacks against me. If you watched the Super Bowl, there was actually a commercial about a password manager, and they were basically giving you that argument of passwords are bad, but that password manager also uses a master password to protect all of their passwords. So you run into that same argument of passwords are bad, we still need to find a way to get rid of them completely and find another way to respect our identities and respect our information online. And that's why I really wanted to talk about WWPass. And I also wanted to introduce you to PassHub and show you how to set that up, because it is really easy, but I still wanted to give you this tutorial so that you can fully understand it. Passwordless authentication. How does this work? In the case of WWPass, they use an electronic ID. So this would be, I would say it's something that you are as compared to with a password, something that you know. So here you can see I am downloading the Android version of PassKey. This is your electronic ID. This is an application that will verify your identity whenever you want to use the WWPass PassHub, which is their password manager. So you download the app, totally free on iOS or Android. And when you first open it up, you can choose to create a new passkey. This will give you an option to create a new PIN, which will be used during the authentication of your passkey electronic ID. After confirming your new PIN, you can start using passkey, and you will notice here that it does get access to my camera. That's totally safe because you will want to use that to scan QR codes, for example, on your computer, and this will allow you to unlock your password manager, which is PassHub. So passkey itself is the ID card for your applications that are authenticated with the passkey. Any application that you use with it will recognize the authentication from the passkey app and allow you to unlock your data. So this means that instead of using a username and password to get into your password manager, you would only use your electronic ID, which will automatically authenticate you into the password manager, PassHub. That makes it super easy and really fast to unlock your password manager whenever you need access to it. Now you can choose to back up your passkey with an email address in case you lose your phone or in case you're worried about your phone getting stolen. That's something that you can totally choose yourself if you want to do that. And whenever you want to gain access to your passkey on a new phone, you would have to go through the recovery process. Now, to use this with PassHub, you will go over to passhub.net and scan the QR code with the passkey app. Now at the bottom of my app, you can see that there is an open passhub.net button. You can enable that in the settings along with enabling a fingerprint, but I'm on a Pixel 4, so I don't have a fingerprint sensor, which is unfortunate. But you can open passhub.net straight from the application, which means it'll open on your phone. You can also scan a QR code on your computer, and that will open passhub.net on your computer. So you scan the QR code with the passkey app. From there, you create an account that will be verified over email. So it's using your email address. After verification, the QR code along with your PIN for the passkey will unlock the PassHub app, and you can now start adding all your new entries. So to add them, all you do is choose create entry, fill in the details. You can also import details as well. I know some folks out there will probably ask me how to import. You can do so with a CSV file or a KeyPass file. So either or will allow you to create new entries into PassHub super fast, so you don't have to copy and paste them all. Now, to log into your accounts online, all you have to do is copy and paste your username and password from PassHub into whatever your account is. So for my example, I like to use Stitch Fix. If I was autofilling my username and password into Stitch Fix, that does open up a vulnerability of a man-in-the-middle attack between that autofilling technique, or it allows me to autofill accidentally into a website that does not actually match stitchfix.com, the real certifiable Stitch Fix. So I do not want to put my username and password into like a fake Stitch Fix website, so not allowing that autofill does add an additional layer of security. I also wanted to mention with PassHub, you get up to 100 entries or 100 megs, which are completely free. After that, it's $48 per year for PassHub Premium. 100 entries is quite a bit, and so is 100 megabytes, so you may not even hit that. I love the idea of protecting my online accounts with less passwords and more authentication techniques that require better verification. And I really hope that more companies see the additional layers of security that you can get whenever you go passwordless. The vulnerabilities that have to do with passwords are so wide and far, and they affect pretty much everyone as long as you have some kind of access to accounts online or any kind of authentication online where you're using passwords. This could potentially affect you too. And that's why I think it's so important, and that's why so many other people in cybersecurity do as well. I know that this is a somewhat new concept, the idea of passwordless security, and it's something that we really have to change our minds gears around to really understand, but it's a concept that's important. So I would love to help make that change actually happen in the world. So comment below with your questions. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you enjoy these kind of tutorial sessions about security and privacy online. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I love sharing this kind of information. I want to protect everybody. If y'all put me out of a job because there's no worries about passwords and privacy and security online, then I know that I did my job right. So I'm hoping that we get to that point one day. But right now I kind of need to pay my new mortgage. So keep on watching these videos, y'all. Thank you so much to my s'mores for checking out this video. Again, my name is Shannon Morse, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!